Maayong adlaw sa tanan. Good day, everyone. Welcome to Startup Iloilo 2020, an official collaboration event under Philippine Startup Week. My name is Noreen Bautista. I'm the founder and chief igniter of SlashIgnite. We're a social innovation studio and one of the startup ecosystem enablers here in the city and province of Iloilo, Philippines. Now, for the international guests, in case you're wondering where Iloilo is, we are located in the central group of islands in the Philippines, specifically the Western Visayas region. This region is home to one of the best beaches in the world, like Boracay, the sweetest mangoes like in Guimaras, and of course, some of the nicest and amazing Filipinos you'll ever meet, the Ilonggos. So this event is also co-organized by the Green Technology Business Incubator at West Visayas State University and in cooperation with Innovate Iloilo, a public-private movement to promote innovation in the city and province of Iloilo. Now, the theme of this event is called Inclusive Transformation. In the past months, our city and province, like many other places around the world, faced the onslaught of COVID-19. But our innovation ecosystem players have really been stepping up to address the challenges from government, industry, academia, and the startup community. Today, we are here to look back on all these contributions and have a discussion about our initiatives and the opportunities moving forward, especially for supporting startups in Iloilo. Our panel today will be divided into three short but very meaningful discussions. First is a discussion on a brief history of Startup Iloilo. For this, we have two representatives of startup enablers in Iloilo. One of them is our co-organizer in GTBI. So we will be hearing from Rejan Halamucho, who's the business manager of the incubator here in West Visayas State University, and Mikey Kanaman of Global Shapers Iloilo. So we've actually been working together for the past 3 to 5 years in doing ecosystem building, so we have more opportunities for startups. Now, before we start this wonderful discussion, we will actually hear first from our enabler from the city government. So, this work wouldn't be possible if we don't have our local government supporting the startup ecosystem. So, before we start the discussions, let me call on the chairman of the Iloilo City Council Committee on IT, Councilor Lady Julie Grace Love Baronda.
Hello everyone! Greetings from the City of Love, Iloilo City. We have seen how the world changed overnight because of this pandemic, and nearing 9 months and running, we further confirmed that the digital economy and ecosystem in the Philippines should be strengthened, supported, and funded. When I got elected in 2013 as a city councilor, we got the chairmanship in the Committee on Information Technology. As I followed through and researched on what are the possible policies to be made for the city, I came across this study of the Center for Strategic and International Studies in partnership with the International Youth Foundation, stating that in 25 statements from youth summits and consultations globally, that the chance to start their own business came as the number one dream of the youth. In the city, we also did a youth survey on our own, covering the students from high school to college, and what came as the top two aspirations of the youth are to have access to information and have programs that can be easily linked with the government. From there, we envisioned Iloilo as a growing and booming city ready for the digital revolution. Timely, my advocacy also as the chairman of the Committee on Disaster Risk Reduction and Management and the Climate Change Adaptation paved the way for us to create programs on tech. As the educational hub for the region, in 2015 we've initiated a consortium between the different deans of the information technology departments in the different colleges and universities in the city. There we realized that we have a pool of talents and skills that are yet to be tapped. So from there, we formulated the Kabalaka Tech program with the support of the academe. We created an avenue for young people who are into tech and startups to formulate and develop DRR related inventions, gadgets, and applications that contribute to strategic planning and crisis management for disasters. It also gained its momentum when Two Class Innovation Labs partnered with us in this initiative, giving us a realistic approach on the innovations and inventions. So this allowed us to open the communication on the idea that technology plays a relevant and important role in our economy. And we see that the government's role is to start the conversation, open the engagement, build and support the startup ecosystem. So in 2017, we formalized this initiative through a memorandum of understanding between the city government and the universities. Last year's winners for this program were even sent to the national competition with the National Resilience Council. So with the help of StockTrek, the city also was able to host tournaments for aspiring developers, hackathons, and supported coding leagues, and opened the walls for esports. These initiatives gradually gained partnerships with the different institutions on tech, including, of course, the Global Shapers Community, Iloilo Hub, Iloilo Federation for Information and Technology, Green Technology Business Incubation, and with the support of the OSTIT and now the DICT. On that same year, this representation also passed a legislation creating the Iloilo City Information Systems Department and providing funds for its operations. This was to ensure that the city's mission to be an innovation hub will be realized. We are lucky in Iloilo that we are one of the firsts to collaborate and to implement programs on tech. And we are more than grateful in the community for this endeavor only grew throughout the years. The city and the province of Iloilo are now joined by the Iloilo Local Economic Development Foundation Incorporated and the Iloilo Business Club, to name a few. The challenge now is how do we sustain this? So it is with us in government and with the aggressive support and help of our partners that we continue to forge and march to be an innovation hub in the Philippines by 2030. We plan to formally establish the Innovation Council to further raise our platform and our cause to help startups not only start but help them up to their full potential. This pandemic has made it all clear. What our startups and the startups ecosystems build are essential to revitalize back our economies. This conference will allow us to listen, study, and act according to their needs. With that being said, we warmly welcome all delegates to the Philippine Startup Week 2020 virtual conference.
So thank you so much, Counselor Love. You've always been our supporter and enabler. And you know, this is actually one of the great things about being here in Iloilo. I was born and raised in Iloilo, but I studied and worked in Manila for over a decade and only moved back home in 2015. And you know, that was also the time when Iloilo had the first startup weekend. And I remember feeling very thrilled because as a co-organizer and attendee of startup weekends in Manila and even abroad, I was excited that there are these tech activities. And I'm also part of the Global Shapers Iloilo that the counselor mentioned, one of the enablers of the ecosystem. And our next speakers are actually my colleagues in Global Shapers Iloilo and also my very good friends. So now this is the part where we take a very short memory lane to make you understand the brief history of Startup Iloilo and how we got to form the innovation ecosystem through Innovate Iloilo. So I mentioned them before a while ago, but I like to formally call on the Green Technology Business Incubator Manager of West Visayas State University. He's also the former curator of Global Shapers Iloilo and now an alumnus, Mr. Rejan Helamucho. Together with Rejan, we have the Impact Officer of Global Shapers Iloilo, also a startup founder herself, Miss Mikey Kanaman.
Thank you, Ms. Noreen. We are always grateful for every chance we get to again highlight Iloilo City, this time with the players in the startup scene. So once again, good morning, everyone. My name is Mikey. the Impact Officer of the Global Shapers Community, Iloilo.
Thank you, Noreen, and thank you, Mikey. I'm Rayjan Hilyamucho, the former curator of the Global Shapers Community Iloilo Hub, and currently the Green Technology Business Incubation Facility at WVSU General Manager.
All right. So Rachel and I are in charge of sharing the brief history of the Iloilo startup with how the organizations that we are both representing have been part of the different initiatives here in Iloilo. And so we think that it is just right for us to begin by sharing this journey in 2015 that to describe in a nutshell, we call shaping policy.
Yeah, thanks, Mikey. Because we in the Global Shapers community, our goal in the hub is to really shape the policy in terms of in the city government or in the province or in the different agencies or other non-government organization, as long as it influence local policies. So in this context, in the innovation in the startup ecosystem, we have a lot of programs and initiatives in the hub that already have a fruitful impact and at the same time already shape the policy. So those initiatives influence the integration of the technopreneurship classes in the few universities here in Iloilo, and as well as the creation of co-working spaces here in the city and province in Iloilo. At the same time, through our initiatives, now we have that Innovate Iloilo or Innovation Council. So we are very thankful for the all the support of our various stakeholders in shaping this agenda, the shaping policy of the Global Shapers Community Iloilo Hub.
Yes, I think I remember, back in 2015, the Dojo 8 specifically, or this co-working space that you mentioned, Rajan, is actually a new concept. And it was with the entrance of this establishment that the awareness on startups, on building your own business, on organizations coming together, it was really paved for these organizations to thrive. And I
Yeah.
think with the Global Shapers community, we often meet there as well. And there has been a lot of projects that were ideated there and now are in fact standalone organizations or startups, right?
Yeah.
All
Yeah,
right.
I agree. And at the same time, it's also paved way for the creation of the different technology business incubators in the region.
Yeah, that's right. So next to this is in fact, moving forward to I think 2017, we had this what we call Innovation and Kabalaka Tech. I think this was the time that Miss Noreen came back to Iloilo and together with the city government and with the Global Shapers community and with the support of Councilor Love Baronda, we were able to have this what we call Kabalaka Tech, the start of the many other hackathons we have here in Iloilo. What else can you tell us about the hackathons that you organized, Region, back in 2017?
Yeah, actually, before when we started Dojo 8, there are a lot of community events that we organize in the co-working space. Actually, it also paved way for the meetups of the industry, the academe, and the policymakers here in Iloilo City. And it also, because of that conversations in the community, we bring in, or with the help of various sectors, we bring in the different hackathons also, like the Union Bank organized UHAC here in Iloilo. The Impact Hub Manila also organized hackathons here in Iloilo City. And as you mentioned, Kabalaka Tech is one of the first hackathons here in Iloilo City, being supported by the city government of Iloilo. And at the same time, we also organize the Startup Weekend Iloilo. So that produces a lot of teams, startup teams that we also compete, no? And one of like before, no, I think Banyera, I can mention Banyera as one of the startups that won in the Idea Space Foundation competition. So because of that initiatives and programs, we also we the startup communities or the startup culture slowly grow here in the city and province of Iloilo.
That's right. And by growing, we mean that come 2018, we were able to really organize and invite different startups, registered, institutionalized startups here in Iloilo, which I believe most of them are under the different PBIs here in the city. So we had this what we call Ocean 18 Iloilo Roadshow and Summit.
Mm.
It allowed us to invite these startups. So the awareness is there, the acceptance is there, and now this specific initiative, we use this to train them to strengthen their brand positioning, their products, and the collaboration that they need to even to thrive even more. And at the same time, Rejan, I think this also pave way for us to meet the different other sectors, right? Can you tell us more
Yeah.
about that specific special meeting that we had right there?
Yeah, because of this partnership, actually, this is also one of the major initiative under Innovation. We partner with a group of Winston de Marillo for the Ocean Summit, and they have the roadshow, and we have the opportunity to host. No, the Global Shapers community have the opportunity to partner with the group. And it was I can also mention Hera Barameda, who initiated this who lead this initiative. And one of the notable I mean activity under this event is the startup community, and we, the Global Shapers community, Iloilo Hub, met with the big players, big business players here in Iloilo, and we pitched the idea of them supporting startups and local innovation, and to make that dream of becoming the city of Iloilo to be the innovation hub of the country, one of the innovation hub of the country. And with that, we get their support, the various executive directors of the business club, the Island Foundation, and the Philippine Chamber of Commerce, no, with the support of the city government, local economic development office. So that's, I think that's the very that's the good support, no, that we get out of the Ocean Summit. And also another notable event that happened during this Ocean Summit is the first, I think, matching event, no, for the startups here in Iloilo, together with the current big players here in Iloilo. When I say big players, is there are the big corporates here in Iloilo. So they listen to our startup founders as they pitch in the stage, and I think there are also our startups also get clients out of that pitching competition.
That's right. And it is right after all these events that we've also realized a need for these founders to be recognized. So, come after this is the launching of what we call the Iloilo Startup Founder Circle. I remember moderating this event, and it was also an opportunity for these startups to get consulting, no, because of
Yeah.
uh, they really needed help in terms of the legal, in terms of even the basic registration. So this was this opportunity for them to be recognized, for them to be organized. Can you tell us more about your objective and how they're doing right now, Rachel, as being one of the conveners, right?
Yeah, the Iloilo Startup Founder Circle was born because of our dream, no, to curate the different startup founders here in Iloilo. May they belong to the technology business incubators, or to different freelance or under office, no. Meaning to say they don't have actual office, but they have the startups. They run the startups. And with that, with the support of the Department of Trade and Industry, the city government, and the DOST and the ICT, we created the Iloilo Startup Founders Circle. And the goal of the organization or the circle is to gather those startup founders here in the city and province of Iloilo and nearby provinces to share different experiences as startup founders. At the same time, to provide the needs of the startup founders. It's also the circle serve as the voice, no, of the startup founders here in Iloilo. And with that, we are now recognized by the Iloilo Federation of Information Technology, or IFIT. That's our counterpart of the ICT Council here in Iloilo. And the ISFC is now like an affiliate of the ICT Council here in Iloilo. So we have that influence, we have that voice already because of that circle. And at the same time, we have also gathered support, no, because we the startup founders are already organized.
That's right. And with all these events and with all this collaboration, we were able to plan on what we call in 2019 as the Innovate Iloilo and Innovation Investment Forum. This time, this is not only limited to the startups, to the Global Shapers community, but in recognition of the much needed collaboration with the academe, with the government, with the business sectors, these budding entrepreneurs, and the different non-government organizations. Innovate Iloilo is also an opportunity for us to really call for investors, for more opportunities for these founders in with the growing business industries here in Iloilo. This is a very much notable because it was fully supported by the province and city having its own executive order. And this was an opportunity for these different partners to also pitch and have this little exhibit wherein we invited international delegates, delegates from different cities as well, to see what we've been doing in here in Iloilo.
Yeah. In addition to Mike, the Innovate Iloilo also pave way for the creation of the Innovate Iloilo Council, both in the city and province of Iloilo. So, in terms of our goal to shape the policy, and in terms of like having a framework, no, to make Iloilo as the one of the innovation hub in the Philippines by 2030, I think that's also one of the notable milestone, no, as we bring Iloilo to be an innovative city. And at the same time, during that Innovation Summit last 2019, we have highlighted our startups, not only here in the Green Technology Business Incubation Facility, but also to name our other TBIs, our Fisheries TBI in UPV in Miagao, and the Seeds TBI in UPV City Campus. At the same time, our R&D projects, our research and development projects that are already matured and ready to be commercialized or to be tech transferred by our various universities here in the city and province of Iloilo. So we have highlighted not only startups but also commercial research and development. We have also highlighted our startup founders because of the partnership with the Iloilo Local Economic Development Foundation and DILG6 because we conducted the business forum, and our it's like our founders got the opportunity to also match, their solutions, with our local chief executives. So we don't only give opportunities for startup founders to pitch ideas and solutions to fellow businessmen, but also to the local chief executives as head of their local government unit. So I think that's my addition to Innovate Iloilo.
Yeah, and that was back in 2019. And of course, we were expecting a lot to happen in 2020. Although it's safe to see that a lot of it were also affected by the pandemic. It is also still an opportunity to highlight the different startups, which for what we know, right?
Yeah.
Startups or technology is really made um, to thrive in these challenging times wherein a lot of problems need solutions. So just to highlight a few, here in Iloilo this 2020, although with the pandemic, there were a lot of startups who stood up as well or stood out as well. Just to note on my end, perhaps mentioning digital marketing firms, different businesses looking for a way to transition to e-commerce, and some businesses started to move into the deliveries. In fact, from what we know from my research, there are a lot of new businesses in the logistics sectors or in the e-commerce. To start with, just to mention, we have the LVR, Gora Delivery, Dash, and another startup that I'm working on right now, which is like around 3 months old, joining the green technology business incubation, is in fact Guzam. We're trying to be that call for help application, which also includes the needs for logistics, to name a few. And we also have businesses such as Bakalokal and COVID. I think these are also incubatees here in GTBI. So can you
Yeah.
tell more about it, Rayjan?
Because we are so COVID is a one of the startups here in GTBI at WVSU. That's a contact tracing application. It was deployed to, I think, to the with the help of the city government of Iloilo, and Baka Local is another new startup here in the green technology business incubation. The goal of the Baka Local is to help local MSMEs, especially those government funded MSMEs, to bounce back as they recover because of this pandemic. So at the same time, your startup goes and so in Skill, who also help our MSMEs to bring their products into the digital space.
That's right. And with all this that has happened, it's always a question: what's next for Innovate Iloilo, for the Iloilo startup ecosystem? And in a nutshell, I think Rajan can best explain the what we call Innovate Iloilo roadmap.
So in the longer plan, no, we have this Innovate Iloilo roadmap. This was conceptualized, or this was being gathered, no, into one document by our organizer, Miss Norin Bautista, no. And the goal of this Innovate Iloilo roadmap is to really make Iloilo as a premier innovation hub in the Philippines by 2030, as I mentioned earlier. And this roadmap has a various components, like to make Iloilo a smart city and community, and to be the innovation driven, to have an innovation driven economy, to have a strong startup ecosystem. So this was highlighted, and this is what we have now. And we have to be internationally recognized research and development centers, and to be globally competitive in terms of academe and innovation centric public and governance. And at the same time, all of this will boil down into a visionary leadership. So when we push this roadmap, we also need those leaders that has a vision, no, for Iloilo, to make Iloilo as innovative and sustainable city.
Yeah, one thing we really know about this roadmap is that no one can do it alone. We need everybody's collaboration for us to achieve this goal to be a premier innovation hub in the Philippines by 2030. And so all of the activities, or the rest of the activities that we're looking forward, will all be anchored into this Innovate Iloilo roadmap.
Yes, and in addition, because of this Innovate Iloilo roadmap, we have that Innovate Iloilo portal, and at the same time, we have also the Innovate Iloilo Facebook page, because we want to continue promoting Iloilo as initiative towards innovating Iloilo City and province.
That's right. So to officially end this, we want you to keep in touch with us through the links, which I think which I think is being seen right now, being shown right now. Innovate Iloilo, and you can also contact us through innovateiloilo@gmail.com. And I think a lot of businesses or probably startups would want to start also here in Iloilo City with all the given highlights that we've been getting for the past months. So I believe Iloilo is very welcoming. You are welcome here. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Region and Mikey. Super nostalgic to go back to all those years that we've been working together. So thank you so much. And it's been a thrill hearing you speak. So let's move on to our next panel. After that wonderful discussion of the brief history, let's now go to our first panel. So we will have our enablers, especially from the business, academe, and international communities, who are all keen to make the vision of Iloilo as an innovation hub happen. So I'll be calling some of our representatives from the academe, business, and even startup enablers abroad. We will be discussing how can government, industry, and academe collaborate to help our startups create inclusive transformation for Iloilo. To start off the discussion, I'd like to call in Ariesa Ko. She is an instructor at the Central Philippine University Software Engineering Program. I have to say they graduate some of the best software engineers in the country, and this convinced foreign founders to set up shop here in Iloilo, like StackTrek Enterprise, which Ariesa is also part of. So hi Ariesa, kamusta?
Hello po. Good morning.
Good morning, good day. Well, we're actually now in the afternoon, but everything is really morning right now because, you know. Anyway, Ariesa, you're currently an instructor at Central Philippine University, so software engineering. So can you share more about this course and the opportunities for students as a software engineer?
So, software engineering is a course that applies certain standards and principles of engineering and designing, developing, maintaining, testing, and evaluating computer software. So, it is more software-oriented and places a greater emphasis on the whole software development process. So, from the conceptualization of the idea up to the final product itself, so it also put a great importance to quality of the product by performing quality check to ensure that the efficiency in its real-world application. So I could say software engineers are superheroes as well. So why is that? So if you say that superheroes, they have superpowers, right? As well as software engineer. Like, for example, if you're a software engineer who's also interested in the medical field, you could make a software that could uplift the medical field. And if you're a software engineer who's also interested in the agricultural sectors, you could also make a software or an application that could empower the agricultural sectors as well. So, a software engineer can be a designer, a developer. These are the engineers that deal with the creation of software. Or they can also be quality assurance engineers who make sure that software has gone through rigorous process to ensure that it is in its optimum condition. So, and eventually later on in their career, software engineers could be product managers, project managers, tech leads, and possibly CEOs and founders of their own startups and their own companies.
Wow, amazing! And I don't think even Ilonggos know that there's a software engineering course in the Philippines, especially here in Iloilo. So, because you're in the academe, Ariesa, what do you think is the way, or how can the academe be a better enabler for startups in Iloilo?
So we in the academe equip our students with skills in their chosen careers. But in order for us to be good enablers for startups, we should be able to create a good relationship in the industry. So if we work together hand in hand, these professionals can give us advices on what is really happening in the industry, and we can focus our curricula on the real market needs. So this industry change is constant, right? So enabling our students to learn the right skill that the industry really needs. So this relationship is a win-win situation. So why is that so? So in the academe, we will be able to update our students to adapt to the change of the industry. While for the industry itself, they will be able to get students who are equipped enough to the market needs. So I believe that students is the future of this industry that we currently have.
Right. So I have one last question. So can you tell us more about the enterprise also? Because I know you're also working for a tech company, as a software engineer. So can you tell us more about that? And what are your
So
initiatives as well?
So in Stack Trek, I usually handles the our Stack Trek product. So we have the Stack Ed, that's a free LMS for everyone. So if schools would want to avail that Stack Ed of ours, they just need to contact our Stack Ed Facebook page or the Stack Trek Facebook page as well. So we also empower uplifting the tech industry here in the Philippines by giving away our free LMS. So our free LMS, we have what we call the Code Runner. So the Code Runner is specialized for IT or computer science or software engineering students that will be able to run their code automatically. So meaning the teacher won't be able to have the hassle to download the file and run them one by one. Our system or our LMS automatically grades the student's code based on the solution. So I think that's one way to uplift the tech industry as well by starting off in the education aspect.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Ariessa. So we'll now move on to the next. So I know you have somewhere to go. So thank you so much. So for startup founders watching, in case you need tech talent, I encourage you to contact Ariessa. You can see her details here in our event platform. So next, let's call on Mr. Francis Hintoral. So Sir Francis is the Executive Director of the Iloilo Economic Development Foundation, one of the enablers of Innovate Iloilo. And Sir Francis, can you come in?
Yes, good morning, everyone. Good
Hi,
morning,
sir.
Maureen.
Hello. Mayong adlaw. All right. So
Adlaw.
let us try to let's talk about your insights, sir. Because first of all, can you share a little bit about your organization? What is ILED about for our audience?
Yeah, ILED or Iloilo Economic Development Foundation is actually a public-private partnership organized in 2007 by prominent Ilonggo businessmen and professionals, both from Manila and Iloilo, whose advocacy is to really strengthen the investment uh, uh, proposition for Iloilo, both the city and the province. So basically, the mandate of Island is to really make Iloilo as a preferred destination for both, of course, big ticket investments and, of course, the startup enterprises and businesses. And probably this is where ILED can be a good collaborator and a good convener or catalyst for startup enterprise development in the area.
All
Uh,
right. Yeah,
yeah,
sige, sir. Because since you've really been in, you've worked together din po sa Innovate Iloilo. So how can business and government sectors help startups in Iloilo, especially now that you've also learned more about the Iloilo startups?
okay. One of the ways to sustain economic development or making it more sustainable and resilient is to really build the ecosystem for startups in Iloilo. I think the future of Iloilo's economy is anchored on the startup community, startup that supports the basic sectors like agriculture, tourism, even logistics. No? I think the Iloilo is a logistics hub. for Western Visayas and basically the whole Visayas. So we are developing or attracting investments for ports development, for logistics, for agriculture. And part actually of this value chain is a quality workforce which our academic community can provide. And basically the entrepreneurial ecosystem should be robust enough to support these kinds of development. Of course, if I'm an investor, I would like to see in a specific area like Iloilo a robust entrepreneurial community that can develop, sustain, and even catalyze the development of other industries, specifically the commodities under agriculture and tourism.
Right. So
So
can you tell us, sir, more about your programs in Island? Do you have programs to help the startup community?
yeah. Uh, Basically, if you look at the context, Iloilo is always a well-awarded city in terms of competitiveness, in terms of quality of life, in terms of peace and order. And I think these are the necessary enablers for the startup community to grow and flourish. So basically, in the foundation, the advocacy is actually to focus our attention on really sustaining the competitiveness of the area. And when I say competitiveness, one of the enablers of this is actually a very strong startup community. So for this year, of course, we were experiencing the ill effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. But it's not just about the health issues. We also have to tackle climate change. We also have to tackle, of course, volcanic eruptions and many other biosecurity issues. And I think this is where the startup communities can really create and develop new products and innovation. And of course, the interest of Island now is about innovating innovation, technology, in order that our basic industries are sustained and made resilient. And in terms of programs, so basically, we focus our attention on attracting investments in these areas that I have mentioned. We are actually fully developing the Iloilo economic portal, where you can probably get information about what are the opportunities in Iloilo. And of course, we like we do with Global Shapers and other young youth organizations, we are planning to do a lot of advocacy talks and researches. I think that's the priority in the next 1 or 2 years, no, in support of the startup ecosystem, basically. So, one of the things we are trying to talk about and organize is the Young Ilonggo Leaders, which is actually a startup uh, idea, right? It's an idea that is beginning to flourish, but it really takes time, because I think we need to really create more advocacy work, more awareness work on the importance of, building the sector into a more globally competitive one. So basically, that's the work we are doing. We are using, the existing tools like investment promotion, like lead information, focusing our attention basically on the startup community. I think there's a lot of challenge here in the city about how academe industry works together. It's not just an issue of having the lack of idea, but it's an issue of now getting and executing the roadmaps that we have already started. And the challenge is actually, I mean, we still have an old system. We have bureaucratic procedures that we really want to untangle. I mean, if if the stakeholders in Iloilo are really serious about focusing our attention on sustainability and resiliency, I think they have to start working on the enablers specifically dedicated to the young and the startup community. I think that's the summary of what I feel that the foundation is doing. And basically, this year we are focusing our attention on investment promotion for economic recovery, which is actually startup community is part of it. And of course, the importance of having evidence-based decision making, which is actually through the use of this resource portal for not only for the startup community, but the whole business uh, and the industry in the city. and the province, of course.
Okay, so thank you so much, Sir Francis. That's really good to also mention the realities that we need to work on here in Iloilo. But I have to say, for those who are not aware, Iloilo Economic Development Foundation, headed by Sir Francis, is really one of our champions, not just for startups, but as Sir Francis mentioned, the whole economic development for the city and province of Iloilo. They're the ones who actually bring in some of the major investments here. And we're so thrilled to have them as a mentor and big brother, big sister also to the startup community. All right, so we've heard from the business sector. I'd like now to call on a startup founder herself and ecosystem enabler. So her name is Guaya Melgar. She is also an Ilongga, but she is co-founder of Vessel, an internationally recognized startup. They registered in Singapore. They've won several events and hackathons like She Loves Tech. And she's now based here in Iloilo. So we're thrilled to have a global startup founder right in our hometown. So Guaya, are you here?
Hello.
Hi Guaya, mayong adlaw. So Guaya,
Mayong adlaw.
can you tell us more about Vessel and what is it about and how is your startup journey?
Okay. Well, Vessel was actually started by 3 women. So I'm one of them. The other is Maureen and Jessica. So we came together because we initially Maureen came back from London, and there she worked in a sugar trading firm. So she got to experience several instruments that they use for trading. And basically, what she realized was that it was good to combine financing with risk management. So the main instruments she used when she traded was trade credit insurance and trade finance, right? But we looked around, we searched in the Philippines, and we realized that that solution wasn't available here. So that's how Vessel started, actually. When we tried to figure out how to start, we realized that very few people know what trade credit insurance is. Most people would focus on the financing side. So that's where we figured out that we should, focus on, and that's where we built our niche. But it was so hard to start here. Like even just registering in SEC, coming up with your permits, it would take a while, right? So what we decided was to look at opportunities abroad, and somebody pointed us to Startup Bootcamp. It's a Singapore-based accelerator, and we got in. So we were actually probably the youngest there. we look like kids, but it was a good experience for us because the accelerator really helped us connect to mentors, connect to investors, and even consult with the government. So it was much easier to start. And I guess what made Singapore different was also the vibrant startup and corporate environment there. Right. So, yeah.
Wow, and that's really amazing because I know I met you way before, right, when you were still a student. But
Yes.
I was so thrilled to know that you're back and you're
my
not only
gosh.
that, you're also part of this startup. And so, by the way, I mean, pre-pandemic, for those who are watching, Singapore had a direct flight to Iloilo. So that's why for a time, like I would also fly to Singapore and we would pitch for startup founders to come explore Iloilo. So hopefully the flight routes are back. So for the Singaporeans watching or anyone based in Singapore, feel free to come to Iloilo. But now that you mentioned, you experienced the startup ecosystem in Singapore, and now that you're back here in the Philippines and back home in Iloilo, and you've attended some of the startup events like the ecosystem mapping last week. So what do you think should Iloilo do to better support startups?
Okay. I heard what Sir Francis said about creating better procedures, making it less bureaucratic, right? And I think that's one of the main things that drove investments and um, a more vibrant business community in Singapore. It's because they have good governance, and not just good governance, they have a digital government, right? Like if we really think about it, the future is now moving towards digital. Actually, not moving. We're moving because we're trying to catch up, right? But most developing countries are already digital, and I think for that makes it easier for them to, or that makes it easier for businesses to start. It makes it easier for businesses to even to exit, right? And because it's digital, everything is transparent. If you're a startup founder there, you're a business owner, you can just search online and you can do everything yourselves. All the instructions are there, so it's much easier. Um, the second thing is probably a direct result of this good governance is um, the high density within Singapore. High density meaning they have a lot of businesses there, right? Because they starting are the ease of doing business is high. A lot of corporates have set up regional offices in Singapore, right? So a lot of businesses within the businesses you can find mentors, right? Those who are top executives eventually they become mentors in startups and even angel investors, right? So that's how I think they increase their density and you know made it more attractive for startups to go there, right? Even startups like us who didn't really target Singapore as our primary market, right? It's just easier to start. And lastly, um, because of the ease of doing business, high density, they also attracted industry champions and startup champions like accelerators and incubators. I think these are really important because these champions are the ones who bring together the mentors, the investors, right, corporate partners, and even the government. So I think that's what made it easy for us. When we needed to consult, for example, when we were starting, we didn't have to write letters to the government, write letters to corporate partners, right? It's just the accelerators who invited these people for us, right? So it was more like informal meetings where you can really discuss versus here where you have to if we consult you have to write letters and wait for a response. And yeah, so those things, I think those three things were key.
Very interesting. And Guaya and I have been bouncing ideas, and we're so thrilled she's now back home because we're gonna work together to help make this happen. So watch out for that at innovateiloilo.com. So thank you so much, Guaya. I won't take up much of your time anymore. So thank you so much. Thank you so much again, Guaya. Super interesting insights. And this is really a wonderful moment to discuss how we can really accelerate more startup enablers and accelerators. So it's interesting because our next panelist is based in Japan, but he's also in Ilonggo. As a matter of fact, he's my high school classmate. So I'd like to call on from Leave a Nest Japan. They're actually also a tech startup enabler, and they're looking to expand here in the Philippines, and they're already actually supporting Philippine startups. So may I call on Mr. Yev Dulya?
Hello.
Hi, Yev.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hi, Yev. So you're in Japan right now, and you're also in Anilongo running programs for Leave a Nest. So can you tell us more about Leave a Nest and how you plan on supporting startups in the Philippines?
So thank you very much for that very wonderful introduction. So I think it would be also important a bit to share how I got here in the first place. So I think Noreen introduced a bit about me earlier, and I think you have my profile on the internet also. So yeah, hello everyone. My name is Yev, and I'm also, as everyone knows, an Ilonggo. And like Noreen mentioned, we were classmates in high school, and then after graduating high school, I took my bachelor's in chemistry in Visayas, and then took the chemist licensure exam. And after which, I came to Japan to pursue my master's in health life sciences and then PhD in pharmaceutical sciences. But actually, before I came here, I worked at UP Manila as a chemistry instructor. And then after graduating from my PhD, I worked at a company called Intralink as a project coordinator, bringing mostly European and American companies or like startups also into Japan and helping them expand here. And now I work at Livanest in their education development division. So what is Livanest? So basically, we're also a very global company. We were founded in 2002 here in Tokyo, and we have a lot of offices around the world. So here in Japan, we have the headquarters in Tokyo and Osaka, and then we also have the Kumamoto lab. And abroad, we have offices in America, the UK, Malaysia, and Singapore. And next year, we're actually opening our Philippine subsidiary. So one interesting thing about our company, especially here in the main office, is that all of our employees, or most of our employees, have at least master's or PhD degrees. So basically, we are one big group of researchers who are who have grouped together to do something, which is our vision of advancing science and technology for global happiness. So actually, this English vision is a little different from the Japanese one, because the Japanese one translates to more like advancing science and technology to contribute to the society and world. So we also like to say that we are a leading science bridge communication company. Take note of the word bridge, because it would usually say like science communication, right? And we also have a knowledge-based platform. So what is it that we're trying to do? So I think even not just in the Philippines and Japan, but also around the world, there's still this big gap between researchers and society. So just to say simply, we're trying to fill in that gap. But like I mentioned earlier, why is it bridge communication? So communication sometimes implies that it's just one way. So like when you're broadcasting, it's just one way, and you tell what you know or like what you feel to the viewers or like someone you're talking to, and then they understand that. But there's no two-way cycle between that. So as employees of Liva Nest, as science bridge communicators, we make that bridge and put that bridge between researchers and society so that there's this cycle that is sustainable, that could lead to other possibilities. So in our company, we have these 4 pillar services or like pillar activities, which are education, human resource, research and development, and then frontier or business development. So I'm actually in the educational development division, where we connect very young researchers, and by young, very young, I mean middle high school and senior high school level, to society. So, but even though I'm in the educational development division, we are not limited to just doing activities in our department. So I'm also doing projects with the other departments. So for human resource, this is where we support young scientists and researchers in developing their careers. And as for research and development, the name itself says that we are supporting the actual technology. So this is the technical one, where we, for example, provide research grants and then support, give advice by helping them with their researches to develop it. And then lastly, we have the frontier or business development. So this is where the startups and ventures come in. So we support also researchers who want to make a venture out of their technology, or existing ventures to expand, help them expand and to get investments and stuff like that. So one of our main activities events is an event called Tech Planter. So here in Japan, we have been running it ever since 2013, if I'm not mistaken. So that's almost 10 years. But we have been running it in the Philippines since 2017. So Tech Planter is basically an acceleration and pitch competition focusing on deep tech, or what we like to call real tech. And we basically conduct this program to provide startups with all kinds of support, including mentoring, fundraising, and market expansion. So usually this event is attended by stakeholders, very like, for example, Japanese conglomerates. And then before and after the event, we provide mentoring and business support to the contestants or the finalists that join in this competition. So, like for example, this year, I think Sir Francis mentioned earlier how COVID has impacted our, Philippines as a whole. But even for us, that did not stop us from doing this event. So we held it online. It was last August, and we had judges both and sponsors from Japan and also from the Philippines. Actually, that's Miss Kat from Kubo for the Philippines. And the winner was a venture called Plastics. So their technology is basically they use plastics, all sorts of plastics, and then use their special technology to make it into a construction material. So it's like more of an insulating material. And so we are not doing this only in Japan and the Philippines, but also to other countries in Southeast Asia, such as Thailand, Vietnam, Malaysia, Singapore, and yeah. So this activity, this event is, of course, only done with our partners. So our motto is that all that we do should be sustainable with outside partnerships. So as you can see here, this is just a list of like a few of the companies that we work with, and a lot of them I think are familiar to Filipinos, like for example, Kubota, Omron, Daikin, and the other companies. So we always make it a point to give to show to these partners the value of collaborating with, for example, Philippine startups. Because of course I'm a Filipino and I'm an Ilonggo, so I firmly believe that there is a lot of potential in our country, and that this is one thing that I'm really working at to show this potential to Japanese investors. And aside from looking for Japanese partners, we ourselves, Livanes itself, also has directly supported startups in the Philippines. So last 2019, we started to support a venture called Wella Online. So it's an edtech venture actually. So edutech venture, and they were originally supported by the USD, and then they joined Tech Planter I think twice, and then that's when our CEO, Dr. Maru, also noticed how the potential of Wella Online's technology. That's why we also, as a company, started to invest with them since last year. So we're also trying to do a lot of projects with them right now, also helping them expand and also finding more partners and projects for them, even here in Japan. Okay, so I guess that's it.
All right. Thank you so much, Kev. And this is really exciting because I know you have plans to go here in Iloilo. So
Yes.
we're looking forward to have all these programs as well. And being Ilonggo, we're very thrilled to welcome you back. So thank you again so much.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.
All right. So that ends our first discussion, but don't leave, everyone, because we've been talking about supporting our startups and a startup ecosystem. But obviously, like the startup world, it's always good to know who we are serving. And we're serving the startup founders. So we have for you today 3 wonderful startup founders. They're also good friends of mine. They're all working on ventures focused on Iloilo and Western Visayas, but also with a global mindset. As a matter of fact, some of them have already been winning competitions, or all of them have been winning competitions, not just here in the Philippines, but even worldwide. So may I first invite Mr. Fidel Ramos. For the Filipinos, he's not the former president. His name is really Fidel Ramos. He's the founder of Viqua Solutions. So Fidel, can I invite you in, please?
Hello, Miss Noreen. Good morning, everyone.
Hi, Fidel. Mayong adlaw. So for our audience, Fidel, can you tell us what is Viqua?
So, Viqua Water Solutions are working in the water sector. So we are providing potable water before, during, and after disasters. So not just only in a disaster setting, but also BICO are providing a rolling water station for the marginalized community to create social businesses.
Right. And now you're based in Aklan as well, right? You're both in Iloilo and Aklan,
Yes,
correct?
and
And
Aklan.
can you tell me
Yes,
you've
please.
won some competitions? What are the competitions that you've been recognized for?
So BICO Water Grid Solutions has just won the international competition on how to address the global water scarcity. So this is a program are operated by Young Water Solutions based in Brussels, Belgium. And 2019, we also won the competition of the class Philippines Individual Lab on how to address the disaster risk reduction. So it's led by Toklas Philippines Individual Laboratories, led by Plan International Philippines.
Right. And now, because you're also a startup in the GTBI, especially, right? Our co-organizer. So what is your experience like setting up a startup in Iloilo? And what are your biggest needs right now as a startup founder?
So as what I mentioned, so we already won the two competition, local and international. Pero Vico Water Solutions hindi kami ang manggaranon because we are innovators. So our goal is to reach out communities so they can afford potable water for drinking and safe water for sanitation and hygiene. So we would like to push for water as a social business so that the vulnerable and marginalized sectors are able to access clean, safe, and potable water. So setting up startup in Iloilo is very helpful because there are a lot of organizations like the GTBI, WBSU. So I'm part of the community, so they are very helpful. Then also they are our partner, and also I have another partner, Academe, the Iloilo Science Technology University, or the ESETU. So we are maximizing their facilities like the Pub Lab, and they're providing us the technical experts that can help to build our prototype, to build our solutions. And building startup in Iloilo is very nice. It's a very accommodating place, and there's a lot of agencies are willing to help the startups like me.
Right. This is a really amazing because what Vidal mentioned are some of the innovation ecosystem players we have. So we have West Visayas State University and Iloilo Science and Tech University. And this is really what we experience, the ecosystem, right? So thank you, Fidel. This is really great that you shared. For those watching, you have Fidel's details in your event platform. Feel free to reach out because Viqua is solving a very crucial problem. And that's also one of the focus of startups here in Iloilo. We really like to focus on problems na may pulos, we say. Problems that have purpose. So yeah, water scarcity, major problem. And that's why we have innovators like Fidel to solve them. Thank you, Fidel. All right. So the next startup founder we'd like to hear from Flora Belinario. So Flora is the co-founder of Tindagat. They are innovating in the fisheries sector, another crucial sector that needs a lot of innovation and possibilities. So Flora, are you here?
Hi, mayong aga. Mayong
Mayong
aga.
aga, mayong adlaw, mayong hapon. All right,
Mayad na aga
Flora,
from Leon. Yeah.
can you share us more about Tindagat?
Yeah, Tindagat.ph. So we're working with the fisheries sector. So it's an e-commerce platform which connects fishers directly to institutional buyers. So we really aim to connect our fishers directly to the buyers and somehow streamline the value chain and add more value to the catch of our partner fishing communities.
All right, so Team Dagat was founded to help our fisheries sector. Why is it important to innovate in this industry, and what role can Iloilo play to help your startup?
Wow, that's a very nice question, Noreen. Because well, I am a fisheries graduate actually. I've been working in the fisheries sector for, well, not to mention many years ago. But I really feel that for me it's a passion for me because I am an advocate for marine conservation also, and also I'm currently working for a non-profit organization just to build the resilience of our fishing communities. And I really feel because one, for sure, the Philippines is an archipelago. So there's a lot. I mean, fishing is a primary livelihood of our fishers. I mean, a number of fishers were living in the coastal communities. I think for now, 94 billion pesos were coming from the cash of the small scale fishers. And we really feel the need with my co founders, we really feel the need to innovate in that sector because, you know, fishing is a traditional business. But I, for one, we really want to be a changer in this sector.
Right. So I know you've won already some hackathons, even if you've started this year. So as a startup founder, what are your biggest needs now, and what lessons have you learned also along the way building your tindagan?
Yes, actually, that was a nice experience joining several hackathons. One is for us to validate our idea if it's real, if it will be scalable or not, and for us, we really need right now partners, especially. I mean, we have a lot of fishing communities that we're working with. We're working from Luzon, and here in Iloilo, we want here. We've been talking to a lot of government agencies like BIFAR, and we really want to connect to those institutional buyers here, especially in Iloilo. And we want to share this also in Iloilo. As a matter of fact, when we started our idea, it all started in Manila, and now we're bringing it to Iloilo. We're now starting selling like crab meat from our fishers, from our partner fishing communities here in Iloilo. And I hope that this through this platform, we were able to connect us with the institutional buyers here or who are willing to support our advocacy also.
Right. So for those who are in the fishing industry or even in the food industry, perhaps there are restaurants or chefs that are listening. Visit tindagat.ph or contact Flora. You have her event contact details on your event page. And actually, Flora is a classmate of mine at the Asian Institute of Management. So we're actually doing online classes right now for grad school. So shout out to the AIM community. So thank you, Flora. All right. So last but not the least, our last co-founder, who's also my co-founder, is Margs Malaso. So she is from Panublix. It is a textile platform for the textile industry. And just to plug, I'm actually wearing one of our the products of one of our communities because we're supporting our indigenous artisans and weavers. So Margs, are you here? She's also
Yes.
a classmate, by the way. So we're all grad school classmates. Hi, Margs.
Hi, good day everyone. My name is Mars
So,
Malazo. Yeah, and
so
I'm here to
welcome to
share.
Iloilo.
Yes, I'm in Manila right now.
Right. Thank you so much, Margs, for coming. So, of course, like we're co-founders, but you're representing Panublix now. So, I guess we'd like to hear more about, of course, what Panublix is, but specifically because we're also in this space of culture and design and technology. So, perhaps, and you yourself are a designer. So, what is the role of culture and design for startups?
So let me share my screen. So just to give you an overview, our startup is called Panublix, a textile sourcing platform and marketplace that aims to connect Philippine weavers and garment makers with the fashion and design market. It comes from the Hiligaynon word panublion, which means heritage, and the weavers and community enterprises have been challenged by twin pressures of sustaining their livelihood and preserving their culture. So by providing them with a hyper-local platform, Anchored on transparency, traceability, and collaborative commerce, Panublix will help weavers and garment makers get their products sold and reach more target customers who are clearly informed about the cultural and social value of their product. So, because of this transparent and traceable platform and social enterprise development program, Panublix can help these artisans and entrepreneurs sustain their livelihood and culture while giving them a better life for their families and communities. My team and I started this because of our personal pain points. A designer like me is always on the lookout for new textiles and weaves. And as we all know, Philippine textiles add unique differentiation to fashion and design products. But it's so hard to source locally, especially now with the current travel restrictions. So on the other hand, my co-founders like Noreen had experiences working with our Philippine weavers, and they know the challenges that they face with regards to sustaining their livelihood and culture. So we decided to unite our experiences with e-commerce, education, tech for social impact and development to create Panublik. So through this, I was able to see the value of culture and design for startups. In Filipino, we call it kultura, kung saan nakikilala ang isang bansa at ang kanyang mga mamamayan. We at Punoblix want to revive the Filipino weaving culture and innovate it into the modern world. We believe that this is one of the best ways to preserve the rich Filipino traditions for the benefit of passing it to the young generation. Now, for design, it's any product of creative human activity, but can also be defined as art. But there's a difference between art and design. Art is meant to provoke thoughts and emotions, but doesn't solve problems. Design, as defined, is based on solving the relationship between humans and things, meaning it has to function. So before working for the startup, I noticed that the design for others may be thought of more as a creative services team dedicated to marketing materials and making products look pretty. But there's so much more design involved when you're in an early stage startup. So it's not just designing a product with the best features, but also thinking about the entire process and stakeholders involved to innovate the best strategies. So design begins with culture, and these two are connected in terms of opening up the valuable opportunities for startups. It's part of the business strategy because involving design at an early stage can save you money and result in a better offering and a better experience for your customers. So as a designer, coming into a startup, I always consider design as a huge part of the user experience. So you have to learn from your users, look at data, iterate, test, and make informed design decisions. It's not a total redesign of a product, but making significant design changes to solve user problems and enhance their user experience for the success of your startup. Finding out what your customers really want is an essential starting point in designing competitive products and services. Branding is also important as any other or the early stage in a startup. So, because through branding, you can tell stories, communicate, and build trust within the community. An accurate branding of a new business can make it difficult for people to grasp why the business exists in the first place. So you have to remember that branding is the cornerstone of your business. You need to be focused on the design from the very beginning. The combination of design and marketing is also very powerful for startups. With good design, you can bring in new customers and compete with the big dogs. So, no matter how intimidating investors and clients are, they understand concepts far better when they have a visual in front of them. Design reflects who the company is to your users, what you're all about, and every interaction sends a message to your audience, so make sure that they are seeing your best side. So culture and design have a big role in startups because it serves as a bridge to communicate with the market. Culture thinking is having a mindset towards actively observing the behaviors a design would generate, and it complements design thinking, which is a human centered approach in solving problems because they share a social responsibility towards a positive impact on our society. The needs of customers can change, so their user observation, trend research, and prototyping that are all part of the design process will help you keep in touch with your market. I think that's all I have to share for culture and design.
Right. So, siguro last question na lang, Margs, no? Parang, I know you're based in Manila and I'm here in Iloilo. So, I mean, what are the opportunities that you're looking forward to, starting in Iloilo? But of course, we have global kind of plans as well. So, what are your thoughts about like having a startup in Iloilo?
It's really overwhelming, because now we're based in different places, but we still manage not to work and make this possible. So it's really nice to scale up what we have in Panoblix, and we're trying to match the increased demand. So I think it's very strategic for us not to work at different places, because we can expand our network better.
Right. So thank you, Margs. And I agree, this pandemic, although it's been very challenging, it's also opened some opportunities. Like as Margs mentioned, we get to really collaborate and actually build a startup while there was a pandemic. And as a matter of fact, we're also part of Kubo's incubation program. And I think you can see us in the top 100 pitch. You'll see me there actually. So thank you so much, Margs. All right, and that ends everyone our event. So thank you so much everyone for coming. I'm sure you have some questions. Please feel free to type it in our platform. Our speakers will be there to answer them via chat. Once again, this has been a pleasure hosting this event. Inclusive transformation is possible if we all work together. And here in Iloilo, we have the Innovate Iloilo movement. This collaboration of government, industry, academe, and the startup community is here to support anyone and everyone who wants to innovate Iloilo. So join us in innovating Iloilo. Go to innovateiloilo.com. We're open for collaboration. Thank you again to the organizers of Philippine Startup Week. This is Noreen again from SlashIgnite, together with the Green Technology Business Incubator, community partners for Philippine Startup Week 2020.